So here's a great example. This wasn't grouped the other day. So I have grouped together apartment 3, 6, and 14. Here's 14. Three and 6 are at the end of that cul-de-sac. Way down there. Would I walk all the way down there and walk back to the van? Of course not. So why group them? It's completely ridiculous. Hi all, Jim from Visual Data Pros here with another Amazon DSP and Flex Drivers Advanced Tips video. Today we look at group stops. Getting that first look at your itinerary or pick list in the morning is a moment that causes a reaction of, oh damn, or hell yeah, based on what you see for stops and packages. Everyone has probably heard the saying, it's not the package count that matters, it's the stops. What if I told you this was completely wrong? What if I told you that what you see for stops is most often understated by 25, 40%, sometimes even 60%? Why? Group stops. Drivers have the ability to add locations to a stop, and as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately, when you are surrounded by hundreds of drivers, what seems to make perfect sense for one doesn't make any sense for others. A driver on a Flex forum the other day admitted that they group every stop on a street and claimed that it made them faster. My question is, how? The Flex app has no clear method of reversing group stops. Sure, you can just scan the packages for each address in the group and deliver them separately, and in doing so you are overriding the group. But I have no evidence to suggest that this uncouples the group for the future. As of now, it appears that once they are grouped forever. Calling support on this issue has been zero help. So why do group stops matter to us as drivers? First of all, your progress is monitored by several eyes and is measured in stops per hour. If each of your stops is a unique address in a residential neighborhood, it's pretty easy to maintain a 20 to 25 stop per hour rate. But if each stop is actually 3 to 4 unique addresses, you are not going to come close to maintaining that average. In that case, dispatch is going to show your progress as being behind. Secondly, you have to locate and scan multiple packages before leaving the van, find a way to organize and carry them all, and walk the route and walk back to the van. A big percentage of the time, at least one of those addresses is going to have an oversized package. So drag or carry a tote, or get out the dolly to wheel all over the neighborhood. Those are really your only choices. The third reason it matters is because every step matters when it comes to the physical aspect of this job. The wear and tear on your body has to be considered in every step and every stair. If there is any small reduction of effort to be gained by doing things in a certain way, it exponentially adds up to the fatigue you will feel at the end of the day and at the end of your consecutive days working. Deadhead walking a half a block back to your van is absolutely unnecessary and is adding steps you do not have to take. Let's take a look at an example that makes logical sense to be grouped, if you feel the need to group at all. House numbers are even on one side of the street and odd on the other, of course. So if you see in this case 10505 and 10506 grouped together, you know that they are right across the street from each other, and it's more logical to walk than move the van. That still doesn't mean that you need to take the time to find and group them in the app, but it's excusable at the least. As is the case where these two houses are next to each other. You can park in between and deliver to both at the same time. Again, the native routing is probably going to put these together in the app, so grouping them really accomplishes nothing. But let's look at another grouping in this video. In the next example, 4 houses are grouped together. It doesn't look that far in the Flex map, but when you actually look at it in Google Street View, you can see that you're walking almost 3/4 of a block to deliver to the 2 houses on the other side of the street. And you are deadhead walking 3/4 of a block back to your van after. I actually paced this off in my own neighborhood, which is a typical residential neighborhood development with smallish lots. It is 66 paces round trip from the van to the porch and back. Now, if I also deliver to the house next door and don't shortcut through lawns and landscaping, it's 151 steps round trip. If I also have a third house directly across the street that's grouped, it's 225 steps. So, you just walked 1/10 of a mile in one group stop. Now multiply that by 40 to 50 group stops a day. And this is an example of what I would consider a reasonably grouped stop. But if the houses are 2 or 3 doors down or down a private drive, it's not logical to put those extra miles on your feet. Driving 100 feet to your next stop may seem silly, but it adds up to the miles on the van instead of your feet. Should these be grouped? Give me a reason. Wouldn't you rather the actual number of unique address stops you do be accurately reflected in the app? In this final example, it's really up to you. Yes, you could park between the 2 houses on the same side of the street and walk across the street to the 3rd house, but you would probably have the exact same routing if they were not grouped. So what is the point? At least if they are not grouped, your itinerary is closer to being accurate. These are 3 stops instead of 1. I like accuracy. I like accountability. I like transparency. As far as residential areas go, I can only really see one valid reason for group stops, and that's the flex routing system. Every day you will see examples like this, where 2 houses right next door to each other are on separate sort zones, and you end up coming back to that exact same neighborhood hours later in your day. But even if stops 46 and 114 were grouped, the Amazon routing system is just going to make the next house on that street stop 114. So what have you gained? With all of that said, there is one very good case for grouping stops, and that is apartment buildings. Now take note that I said apartment buildings, not apartment complexes. These are 2 completely different animals. The very first thing you want to do when you pull up to a commercial building or an apartment building is to check the itinerary in the map mode and make sure there are not multiple pin drops for the same building. I have seen cases where there are 4 or 5 group stops in one building. Now that is ridiculous. And to top that, the same apartment number was in 2 different stops. So in the case of apartment buildings, by all means, group every one of them. In the case of apartment complexes, stop grouping separate buildings together. If there are 4 floors of apartments in a building that are served by a single stairwell, yes, those should be grouped. I don't want to climb that same set of stairs 4 times, only to come back later and have to climb it again. But only apartments in the same building served by the same entrance should be grouped. Multiple buildings as a whole should never be grouped. When this is done, the navigation aid in the app is completely useless, and you get group stops with apartment number 37 and number 197, which are a half mile apart, grouped in the same stop. And remember, once this is done, there is no clear path to reverse it in the Flex app. So from then on, it's airplane mode and manually sorting your stops in order to be efficient, but that's another video. In the comments, I would love for you to disagree with what I'm saying here. I would love to have someone tell me why they want to do more work unrecognized. Tell me how walking around the block is quicker than driving. And if you can't, then stop grouping stupid stops. If you haven't watched the first video on using the map itinerary to help you with routing, I encourage you to go and check that out. I have a couple upcoming videos over the next week that will cover what's in my bag to help new drivers be equipped for the day, and a quick video on time window deliveries. I also have some information on the new route assignment system to promote driver affinity, and some specifics on your mentor score and your driver associate score from Amazon that is provided to your DSP. If you have a question or a frustration about some part of your process as a driver, leave a comment below and I may address it in an upcoming video. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Bye for now.